You think distance is passive. It isn't. Distance shapes everything. Movement adapts to it. Systems adapt to it. And power adapts to it too. You think geography creates distance. It doesn't. Distance creates geography. This is ACHRONIC, a long-form documentary series about power, geography, and time. Not events, not heroes, not chronology, structures that outlast empires. Distance appears simple, a measurement, a gap, a space between 2 points. But distance is one of the most powerful forces inside civilization, because distance creates cost, and cost shapes behavior. The farther movement must travel, the more pressure accumulates around efficiency. The farther coordination must travel, the more difficult coherence becomes. The farther resources must move, the more valuable proximity becomes. This is why distance quietly shapes systems long before systems become visible. Because distance determines what can move efficiently, what can coordinate efficiently, what can remain connected efficiently. At first, these limitations appear insignificant because movement compensates for them. Infrastructure compensates for them. Technology compensates for them. But compensation is not elimination. Distance remains active underneath every solution created to overcome it. The roads remain necessary. The routes remain necessary. The corridors remain necessary. Because distance never disappears. It only becomes easier to cross. This is where perception fails. Because people often mistake reduced friction for reduced distance. But those are different things. A shorter journey reduces distance. A faster journey reduces friction. And systems spend enormous amounts of energy reducing friction while distance remains unchanged. This is why infrastructure becomes so important. Not because infrastructure creates movement, because infrastructure reduces the cost imposed by distance. Ports reduce it. Roads reduce it. Railways reduce it. Networks reduce it. But none of them eliminate it. Distance continues shaping movement underneath them. This is why movement repeatedly concentrates along efficient corridors. Not because movement prefers concentration, because distance rewards efficiency. The farther movement must travel, the more valuable efficient paths become. And once movement concentrates, coordination begins concentrating too. Dependency follows. Control follows. Power follows. But distance arrives first. Always. Because every structure inherits the geography surrounding it. And geography determines how distance behaves. Mountains increase it. Water redirects it. Deserts amplify it. Corridors reduce it. Over time, entire systems begin organizing themselves around these constraints. Not symbolically, structurally. This is why some locations repeatedly become important. Not because importance is permanent, because distance continuously rewards the same efficiencies. The routes may change, the technology may change, the systems may change, but distance remains active underneath them all. This creates a hidden continuity across civilization. Structures appear different, but many of the forces shaping them remain remarkably similar, because distance continues influencing movement. Movement continues influencing concentration. Concentration continues influencing coordination, and coordination continues influencing power. This is why geography often appears persistent across centuries, not because history repeats itself, because distance continues generating similar incentives. The map changes, the pressure remains, the borders change, the distances remain, the systems change, the constraints remain. This is the hidden force behind continuity. Distance does not command systems. It shapes the conditions under which systems emerge. And once enough movement begins adapting to those conditions, entire structures begin organizing around them. This creates another illusion, the illusion that systems control geography. But geography usually shapes systems first, because every structure must eventually negotiate with distance. No institution escapes it. No network escapes it. No civilization escapes it. The larger the system becomes, the more distance begins influencing its behavior. Coordination becomes harder. Alignment becomes harder. Continuity becomes harder. And every solution creates new costs of its own. This is why large systems continuously struggle balancing scale and coherence, because distance rewards expansion and punishes coordination. The system grows, the pressure grows, the cost grows, and eventually, entire structures begin reorganizing around the limits imposed by distance itself. Not because distance changed, because the scale of the system changed around it. This is why distance remains one of the most persistent forces beneath civilization. Because distance is not a problem waiting to be solved. It is a condition every structure inherits, quietly, continuously, structurally, and whether systems recognize it or not, distance decides.